Matt Ryan was pushed beyond his comfort zone and into greatness during his 2016 MVP season.
You are Locked On Falcons, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everyone, to another illustrious episode of the Locked On Falcons podcast, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So if you don't know me, I'm your very humble host, Aaron Freeman. Been covering the Falcons for a very long time, formerly at FalcFans.com, RIP. Still going strong in this illustrious podcast, and I thank each and every one of you that is an everydayer of this pod that makes it your first listen or first watch each and every day. And become an everydayer. All you got to do is subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So today's episode is part 2 of our 2-part finale, the finale of the Falcons Historian Player Shootout, our summer-long trivia tournament pitting two guests against one another to answer trivia questions on a Falcons legend from the past 20 years. And of course, today's episode is about the legend himself, Matt Ryan. Our contestants are Cory Woodroof of For the Win over at USA Today and Will McFadden of AtlantaFalcons.com. And in case you missed it, part 1 of our finale featured us discussing the first half of Matt Ryan's career and featured Will answering his 5 trivia questions. And today we'll focus on the second half of Matt Ryan's career with particular focus on his peak years in 2016. And we'll feature Cory answering his 5 questions. So without further ado, let's jump right into the middle of that conversation, starting off with Matt Ryan's signature MVP season.
All right, 2016. Cory, what was the moment, because you could pick out maybe 10 for 2016, but what was the moment where we're just like, all right, this is different. Matt Ryan's different. This team is different. They're going all the way.
As fun as the Saints game was on Monday night, where Debo had the pick 6, and it was just like they just kicked the crap out of the Saints in New Orleans, which is beautiful. The Panthers game, where obviously Julio, broke records for how much he had, and Matt Ryan broke the record for receiving yards. Like, that was when you knew that something was different, and something with Ryan was different, and like. I'm very thankful for that 2015 season where Shanahan made Ryan really uncomfortable and he regressed a little bit, because I genuinely do not think the MVP season happens if Shanahan doesn't challenge him and really push him to be a different type of quarterback. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I always mourn for the limited time we had with Shanahan, is he was so good with Ryan. He brought out different things in Ryan that Ryan had not shown to that point yet in a consistent way, or even in any general way. Obviously the creativity of the offense that he had was brilliant, and the personnel that they had was perfect for it. But, I think that Ryan was pushed outside of his comfort zone to a point that made him a better player. And I think that one of the things that, Ryan was always good at a borderline level, but I think that the reason why he played at such a high level is because the offense challenged him in a way that I don't think that the offenses did when Shanahan left. I think that just the way that Shanahan likes to use his quarterbacks, he's never had a quarterback since then that has been as talented as Matt Ryan. So I think that Shanahan knew that, like, I'm going to get as much out of this as I can because I have this level of a talent, but I need this talent to like step out of here and do this and do that to be the best that I think he can be. And I think that like friction sometimes can make that type of special season happen. And I think that that's what Ryan needed, is to have someone who was as smart as he was, who was going to push him in a way that Cutter was not, the way that Strk was not, right? So it's just like, that's why it was so special. And I think that just the way that that offense functioned and the way that Ryan played, it's just kind of like one of those things where, you look at the last couple of years of quarterback play and it's just night and day, no disrespect to the guys we've had the last couple of years, but you look at the way Ryan played that year, he was the best quarterback in the league. I know Rodgers came on strong at the end, but Ryan was the premier talent because of what he was able to do. And it's just a darn shame to me that I think Ryan regressed just a little bit more and more each year after that season, because, and again, I think we'd all be guilty of it, but everyone is in their comfort zone. Everybody wants to do the things that they feel the most comfortable with. And I think that if Ryan had stayed with Shanahan for another year or two, he would have kept getting better in certain ways, or he would have found more of a level playing field to stay at that type of a level. But it's just those two together, they needed a season to kind of have a rocky start, because the 16 season came in and all of that rockiness in 15 paid off in just a really grand way. So it's just, it was such a special year. I mean, it's my favorite Falcons season we've ever had, but I don't think it would have been possible if there had not been some tug and pull there between the coach and the quarterback.
That was so well said, Cory.
Yeah,
Man, that was excellent. I think you're so right about that too.
Yeah.
Because I think I think Kyle Shanahan's personality and Matt Ryan is as competitive a person as I've ever been around. And Kyle Shanahan is obviously extremely smart, has every reason in the world to be very confident in his abilities. And I think he pushes his players because he has that sense of confidence in himself. And I think it clicked. So I think that's very, very well said, Cory.
I want to focus on what Cory said about how Shanahan made Ryan uncomfortable. Will, do you think in this process, could you pinpoint one attribute or one aspect of Ryan's game that really improved in that 2016 season, that really elevated his play?
That's a good question. There are some things that I definitely think are hallmarks of that season, but one of the reasons that Matt was so great, or why Matt was so great, is because I do think that he maintained a level of consistency in doing a lot of the same things year in and year out, regardless of how the league changed around him. He was able to find ways to continue to be effective all over the field, to still throw a really good ball over the middle. So some of those aspects I think were more career long abilities. But when I think back to this season and I think back of some of the Matt Ryan specific moments, it's like the fire that he showed. It's like that competitive drive of running the ball in against Green Bay and then jumping up and spiking it and yelling at the crowd. It's like the kind of competitiveness in those Saints games and the Panthers. He had a little bit of go for the jugular in 2016 that I don't know if he ever matched in some of those other years. Even 2012, when it almost felt like when the Power Rangers all turned into the Mighty Morphin robot thing, when you have Tony Gonzalez and you have Michael Turner and Matt Ryan and Roddy White and Julio, they all felt like the Fab Five together. 2016, it was this is Matt's team. He is the guy making it go. And my answer to your earlier question about when I felt in 2016 maybe things were a little bit different, it was that Green Bay game in the regular season, 33-32 win, coming off of the heels of a very close loss to the Chargers that then put the Falcons in a 2-game losing streak. And in 2015, they start the year red hot, and then they just fall off. And so all of a sudden you're they've lost 2. They've got a really tough game against Green Bay, who, they have historically had a tough time with. Aaron Rodgers was the boogeyman still at that point. And for them to not only win that game kind of at home in a little bit of a shootout fashion that had a little bit of everything, Matt Ryan played amazingly, and they drove 75 yards to win the game with that beautiful pass from Matt to Mohamed Sanu. It was when they need their best shot, they've got it. And that felt different than some of the other teams and more like the 2012 season. So I think that was kind of when I started to believe that this year could be different. And even though things weren't perfect down the stretch for Atlanta, it always felt like they had a couple of punches that were capable of going toe to toe with the best teams in the league. And that was really exciting.
Well, I love that you highlight that, because to me, those were the 2 statement wins in the regular season. The Denver game, because they were the reigning champs and that defense was ferocious. And then the Green Bay game was big because I remember it was a 425 game and Julio got banged up. It's me one of the best touchdown throws Matt had that season, just on the deep post to Taylor Gabriel. Taylor Gabriel's kind of coming out party of that game. And yeah, I've seen Ryan. He was on point.
Now we still have more to come on today's Locked On Falcons Historian Player Shootout, including discussing Matt Ryan's underrated 2016 playoff run, and each of us will also share with y'all some of our favorite touchdown passes throughout Matt Ryan's entire career. So, Falcon fans, are you ready for some football? And if so, you got to check out GameTime to see the best way to get tickets for Friday night's preseason matchup between the Falcons and Jaguars. If you go check the app right now, you can get tickets for under $20, and then you throw in a hot dog, a drink, some nachos. Man, you're going to be living real good on Friday night for cheap. Those all-in prices on GameTime. This means what you see is what you get, so you don't have to worry about hidden fees at checkout. And if you're feeling frisky, throw in a couple of bucks and splurge to see what spot you can get. That's why we love GameTime with their panoramic seat view, so you can find the perfect spot to watch Taylor Heineke overthrow Casey Washington for the 5th time on Friday night. So whether you're into preseason football, baseball, other sports, comedy, music, theater, whatever event is near you, GameTime is taking the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL, for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
I want to talk about the playoff run, Aaron, just because I thought Ryan was pretty much flawless in the playoffs. What can you remember just in those 3 games?
I remember one flaw from the Green
Bay. We're not doing 3 minutes on that.
No, I'm kidding.
We're not going back 8 years right now, Will. Talk about a throw to
It's always going to come up, but no. I mean, you're right. He was pretty much flawless in that playoff run, because I remember the previous 2012 run where Matt Ryan played really well, but there were a couple of flaws. He had some sort of game-changing interceptions in both that Seahawk and 49er game that kind of jump-started those opposing teams, and he didn't do that in 2016. I think he threw 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions across those 3 games, if I'm not mistaken. And we talk about guys like Eli Manning and Joe Flacco, guys that sort of were ho-hum regular season quarterbacks, but for one postseason in Flacco's case and 2 in Eli's case, they sort of just kind of blacked out and became the quote unquote elite quarterbacks that everybody loves to celebrate for a 3 or 4 game stretch. And Matt Ryan did the same thing, but the difference was that Matt Ryan was actually a good regular season quarterback that year, obviously from winning the MVP, but he does not get enough credit for how well he played in that playoff run. And sort of thinking of obvious, specifics the Green Bay game is often remembered from Julio's domination of that Packers secondary. And shout out to Terrence Dunbar or whoever.
Darius Gunter.
Okay, there you go. Close enough. I think Terrence Dunbar is
bad cornerbacks.
A wide receiver the Falcons drafted in 2003. Okay, but anyway, so that game is more memorable for the Julio moment and the one throw that Matt Ryan did make in that game. No, I'm kidding. And I'm trying to think what was
some moments in the Seattle game. Remember they ran all out blitz on 3rd and 7. Ryan hit Freeman on that circle route where he got decked. Oh, that was one of the best plays in that play.
Yes, that was a great play. I was vamping to get to the Seattle game, but yes, I appreciate you filling in the blanks for me, Alan. There you go.
Anything else in the Seattle game, or if you want to touch on the Super Bowl? Ryan had some moments in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Ryan definitely had his moments in the Super Bowl. I mean, the throw he made to Julio, the throw that should have won them the game, was arguably one of the 2 or 3 best throws Matt Ryan's ever made in his career.
It is such a shame that they canceled that game with lightning and we never got the end result. That just kills me. If we had just been able to finish that, what would have happened? It's just a shame. There's no winner. You're just stuck with the NFC thing. It's just
the touchdown to Hooper was pretty sweet.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Yeah, that's one thing. That playoff run, for as epic as it was, I think Ryan gets a bit forgotten about just because the 2 wins were so one-sided. I know Seattle was competitive for about half, but Atlanta pretty much won it definitively. And let's give credit, the Falcons defense really shined in those 2 games. So the FIB wanted to give Ryan praise for that. All right, last one before we get into the trivia. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but I just want to go around right now. One Matt Ryan touchdown over the course of his career that will always stand out as just a cool moment for you. We'll start off with Cory. Any season.
I mean, it's got to be. I was there for the Taylor Gabriel and the Mohamed Sanu catches, amazing in 2016. But it's always got to be the Julio catch where Ryan just hits Julio and he destroys those two Packers cornerbacks, and he runs in, and you knew when that play happened that they were going to the Super Bowl. I mean, to me, like, if I had to pick, like, the Morton Anderson kick is amazing, but like some of the first Super Bowl they were in. But I think that's the best play in Falcons history. Like, it's everything. That's a season in a nutshell. Ryan just finds Julio on the perfect route. Shanahan draws up the perfect play. Julio Julio's his way to the end zone in the most dramatic fashion, and the dome goes crazy. It's just, I don't know if there will ever be another Falcons play, that will ever quite capture that, unless they, obviously go to the Super Bowl again. That'd be great. But, that one's near and dear. I literally watch that every now and again just to see it again, because it was just watching that in person, and just the way Ryan had the perfect touch on the throw and what he did with Julio. It's just for all the crap that we deal with as Falcons fans, little moments like that make it worth it.
How about you, Will?
This is a harder question than I thought it was going to be. And I don't know. I can't figure out why that is, but I obviously his first one is always going to be something that stands out in my mind. Like that run in against Green Bay, several of the ones involving Julio, just kind of like the one against Indy, the one against Tampa where Julio, but those are more amazing Julio plays, like the screen against Philly, the Luke Kuechly one. But again, that's where it's like Matt was he always made his part look easy, and maybe like one of the prettiest throws that kind of was also a Julio play, but it was something that I remember talking to Wes Durham about, because Wes brought up the fact that Matt Ryan did the same thing in college against Georgia Tech his senior year. And it's a drop in the bucket, kind of an awkward catch for a receiver to have to make. But the defender was on Julio's outside, kind of like even with, or inside even with him. And so Matt kind of like throws a teardrop up to the front right pylon that Julio has to like kind of inside turn, but like away from Matt. It was such a weird, but like Matt put that ball like the only place that it could go. And I just remember Wes kind of like recalling how he had done that one other time in his career. And so that was kind of just a cool, like synced up moment for me. So I'll say that one. That was in the blowout against Tampa Bay in 2014. So a Thursday night game. So yeah, that'll be my pick.
How about you, Aaron?
Well, so many of the iconic ones that I think of are kind of Julio plays. Like, they're more iconic because of Julio, like him catching over Luke Kuechly. That's one that comes to mind. Obviously, I could just cop out and use the first touchdown pass, which is probably the sort of standout highlight play on Matt Ryan's highlight reel, because it's the first pass. But two that are non-Julio catches and not that first Michael Jenkins one that stand out to me, having gone back last week and watched the hour and a half compilation of all of Matt Ryan's touchdown passes. The two that I remember is the one that he had the Jaquiz Rodgers on a wheel route where Will's talking about dropping it in the bucket. That was a great one. I think that was against Carolina.
2012 or 2011?
One of those years.
Okay, yeah. That was
I can't remember which one it was.
2011.
Yeah, that sounds right. 2011. And then the other one was, I think, in 16, and that was, I think, also against Carolina, where he threw like a back shoulder throw to Josh Perkins.
Yes, I was about to change my. Oh, okay, I was about to change my answer.
Accurate balls, man, and
that was beautiful.
Couldn't go any better. Oh, great pick, Aaron.
That was beautiful. Yep.
Well, I took two, so I apologize for stealing yours.
It's okay.
It feels like that should be the winning pick, though, based on all of our reactions.
Because I think they were in 22 personnel, and it was just.
I was at that game. I was there in Charlotte, watching it from the 20 rows up. And when it happened, it was like a catch that if somebody made it in flag football 7-on-7 intramurals, like everybody would be losing their mind, let alone to like do it in an NFL game, to have the defender like right there to throw that back shoulder, like spinning pirouette ball to Josh Perkins, who nobody knew going into that game. Like, he was cooking.
Man, I love that choice, man, because I think they were in such a, one of those personnels, because the Falcons, whenever they used multiple tight ends, I feel like they were just cooking all defenses, and I was just one of those moments. And Ryan's ball placement on that was insane. If I could just mention one, we didn't really get to talk about the 2017 season because it was frustrating, but I think Ryan played a lot better than the numbers indicate. But I love the touchdown against the Rams where I think Julio was running a drag. They're running in a bootleg. And whether it was Leonard Floyd or Spencer Sampson Ebucom, they're closing in. And this is that game where the field could have been more horrific. Like people were falling left and right. I remember I interviewed Mohamed Sanu and he said it was the worst field he ever played on. And I remember Ryan's back foot was twisting and he had to like throw it. Like he was just leaning back and he just threw like a floater right into Julio's waiting arms. And considering that was his last playoff win in Atlanta, I think that was a significant moment. And it was good just because obviously it was a playoff game, but that Rams team, they got after it. You know, if you want to talk about dominant defensive lineman performances, Aaron Donald like lived in the pocket in the backfield that first half. So they made their adjustments. And yeah, Ryan in very difficult conditions delivered in the second half, and I thought it was an awesome touchdown Julio. So yeah,
good Brian Poole game.
What happened?
Good Brian Poole game.
Hey, there we go. Robert Alford put the
Aaron liked that one.
I did. I think that's the first Brian Poole name drop we've gotten in this entire series. So I appreciate that he got slipped in there somewhere at some point.
Hey, man, I want to give credit to Robert Alford, man. He put the clamps on Sammy Watkins big time. He had like 3 pass breakups. So, yeah, I just wanted that. I think for like the best players ever, I always try to set up a moment where we could talk about their best moments. So I'm glad we shared that. But all right, Aaron, we got to get to the trivia. It's championship time.
Yes, it is championship time. And so Cory is going on the hot seat to answer his questions to see who will emerge as the champion of the Falcons Historian Player Shootout. But I also wonder who's the champion of sportsbooks. Oh, of course, it's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And FanDuel is adding another notch in their championship belt because now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. It's a great deal for you out-of-market fans that want to see what the Falcons look like this year, and it's a great deal for you in-market fans that want to see what every other team across the nation is doing this upcoming season. So make sure you head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, Cory, let's do this. First question. Who caught Ryan's first career touchdown pass in the playoffs?
That would be, I think Roddy was first.
That is incorrect. Second time he's going to be mentioned on this show. Justin Peele.
Dadgummit. I knew that was one of them.
Justin Peele. 2 name drops, Aaron. Can you believe it?
So Peele was first and Roddy was second. Okay.
What a good distinction to have.
We got Brian Poole and Justin Peele in this episode. Mission accomplished.
There you go. Question 2. Ryan's first 3 touchdown game came in his second season, 2009. Who was the opponent?
Dadgummit. This is tough. I'll say the Panthers.
That's correct. Week 2. Good call. I don't know if David Shealy says or someone else said, but sometimes if you're struggling, just say the Panthers and it's probably going to end up working.
He owned the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
So good call there, Cory. Question 3. Ryan had 4 fourth-quarter comebacks in his memorable 2012 season. Name 3 of the 4 opponents he did it against.
I'll say one's the Raiders. I'll say another was the Panthers. And then I'll say another was the Cardinals.
Your final answer?
Yeah.
You got 2 of them. You got Carolina right. You got the Cardinals right, but not the Raiders. The Raiders never took the lead in that one. It was either Washington or Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was a lot that year, but the Raiders just didn't quite. But you almost got home. Question 4. Ryan had his first career 5-touchdown game against the Packers in 2016, infamous NFC Championship game. But these were 5 total touchdowns, as we know. But only 3 players caught touchdown passes in that game. Name all 3 players.
In that game,
Yeah.
2016. One was Sanu, one was Julio, and one was Tev. Ooh. Was that Tevin or Devonta? It was one of those two. I am going to say it was actually Free against the Packers. So I'll say Freeman, Sanu, and Julio.
That is correct. Good backup there. It was either Freeman or Coleman. You got Freeman right. All right, this is it. It's 2-2. Final question. Can you get this right? You will be crowned the champion. In 2018, Ryan became the third quarterback ever to throw for more than 4,000 yards in 8 consecutive seasons. Cory, you have to name the 2 quarterbacks that did it before.
Ooh, I am going to say Peyton Manning and Dan Marino.
Your final answer?
Yeah, sure.
Incorrect. It was Peyton Manning and Drew Brees.
Dadgummit. Man, 2-2.
It's a good guess.
Okay. Couldn't do any bigger, Aaron. We're going to sudden death overtime. This is the only way we can determine a true champion here.
So the rules of sudden death, for those of you that are not familiar with, is Alan will read the question, then he will say go, and the first person to get the answer correct is crowned the champion. So you are just allowed, after he says go, to just blurt out the answer. But wait until he says go.
So I'm really excited about this one because it might take a bit of a process, and this is like an all-time Matt Ryan question here. So you guys might have to rattle off some names with this one. Who caught Matt Ryan's longest touchdown pass ever? Go.
Olamide Zaccheaus.
Wow. Boom.
Oh, he didn't say the players.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cory with the authoritative.
Yeah, dang. Good job, Cory.
93-yard touchdown in 2019.
Wow. And, of course, it happened against who, Cory?
Carolina Panthers.
There we go. Will, did you know that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but Will was just too quick. Oh, man. I thought that could be a little bit of a process because it's a long days.
I didn't know it as off the top of my head as Cory did. I'll tell you that. It was going to take me a second, but yeah, I would have gotten there.
I have this cheat sheet I've done for everything of all these random facts that I gather on the internet, just hoping that they're going to click. And that was one of the ones I wrote down. So that the power of studying, kids, study for your exams. That's the takeaway from this series is do your studying.
Stay in school, kids.
Yeah, that's right. Stay in school.
Because the only one else that comes to mind was Roddy White's 90-yard touchdown against the 49ers. It was
that's
back route with a bad tackling. I think Michael Jenkins outran 2 defensive backs. That was the state of the San Francisco secondary in 2009. But Cory, you're champion, man. Let the people know how you're feeling. You're proud.
Wow. Yeah. I wanted to get matched up with Will again so I could try to get my justice for – I lost him in the first round in 2020 during the pandemic. I did the episode in my car. And I lost.
Yeah, it was a bloodbath.
It was. Yeah. No, it was like 5 to – I got like -2. So, no, I want to apologize to Olamide Zaccheaus because I totally pronounced his name Olamide because that's how I thought it was pronounced for years until someone – yeah, but that's where my brain was. But yeah, it feels great. It feels great. If I've suffered this long trying to cheer for this football team just to win a trivia contest on this podcast, then it's all worth it.
As Aaron would say, illustrious podcast.
Illustrious, excuse me. Yeah. And I listen. I'm an everydayer. So I feel like, I got to rep the brand here.
Appreciate
Will, you had a tremendous run. How are you feeling after this? Would you want to say it's a heartbreaking loss, or you gotta give credit to Cory for being just too quick there?
Yeah, we're feeling a lot of emotions at this point in time. It's a multitude, it's a spectrum. But honestly, hats off to a great competitor in Cory. He knew his stuff. I'm glad that I could lose to the best. Really,
I thought I was going to lose because Will, you've been kicking people's butts in this thing. So I feel very honored to have blurted an answer out like a half second before you did. I barely got by, so
I appreciate it, but you earned this one. That was great win, good champion. So yeah, hats off to you, Cory.
What do I win? Do I get like stock in this, or is that like the?
I love this question,
Cory. You're breaking up. I'm sorry. What was that? I don't.
You get one of Aaron's natty lights.
We're dropping Cory. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's see. What's
Aaron,
the
go far.
biggest? Because I want to like do a podcast and just come on with like a bunch of bad takes that I make Aaron talk about. Like I've had some crazy ones over the years, but I gotta think. What do I want for my prize? I don't know, Aaron. Do you have any real estate that I could,
That's some oceanfront property in Iowa that I'm looking to sell.
That's the thing. It was either that or North Dakota. So, gosh, that's fun. All right, here's this. Oh, go ahead, Will.
I want a ranking of Aaron's exotic list. Like, I want all of the people he would consider exotic. Like the Monopoly Man. Is he up there? The guy on the Quaker oatmeal box, that's exotic AF, you know?
Patrick DeMarco.
You
don't hold back, got to be on there somewhere.
You're doing some stuff with Patrick DeMarco. That's what I'll say.
All right, Aaron. Another tournament, folks. Second one ever, ending with a bang. We should probably come up with a prize at some point.
Instead of having because the times are tough. We're all working media. We can't afford to buy people things. Aaron, have me on to do a 53-man roster prediction with you. That will be my prize because I do these all the time, nerdily trying to predict what's going to happen. So, I want to nerd out with you on the roster. That'll be my prize.
Okay, well, that's probably going to happen next week. So,
yeah.
Okay,
I'll take.
I can do it. I can swing it. I will be in touch, Cory.
Okay, good. Do it.
We're giving the listeners great content, folks.
There you go.
All right, let's wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah, so Cory, the champion. Will, disappointment. I personally feel I accomplished something because Will, you had been getting 4 correct and you only got 2 correct, and so
it was a great job by you.
I brought my A game. No one can accuse me of throwing softball questions like they did.
Hey, do me a favor, Aaron. Don't invite me on that 53-man prediction. I don't want another podcast with you. All right, that's how we're leaving things, buddy.
I appreciate that. The mission accomplished. If I haven't burned the Will McFadden bridge by the end of this thing, then it was not a successful series. But that is it, guys. Really appreciate all of you that tuned in over these 15 episodes that we have done. Shout out to Allen, of course, for being the progenitor of this series and basically doing so much of the legwork so that I could just focus on nerding out about the roster all summer long, and just basically Allen's like, hey, show up here and ask these questions, and I'll be like, okay, sure. So that all credit goes to Allen Strk, the illustrious Allen Strk. And so I don't know. I was going to say, we'll do this again in 4 years, maybe. I don't know. Are we still, the quote Kyle Shanahan, are we still going to be here in 4 years? Who knows?
We're in this demonically.
But guys, of course, that is it for us. We, of course, still got a lot of stuff going on with the current Falcons, so we will not be doing as deep a dive into the past as we have done this summer. But I hope you guys enjoyed remembering some of these legendary players. I know a few of you were like, oh, why didn't you talk about this guy and this guy or whatever? Doesn't matter.
Oh, can I go quick honorary mentions? I was going to do this earlier. Quick honorary mentions. Players that almost made the list, but I want to give him a shot. Patrick Kearney, broke my heart not putting him on here. Patrick Kearney definitely got consideration. The great Brent Grimes, really wish we could have put him on there, but just another room. William Moore, of course, and who doesn't love William Moore? And last but not least, a bit of a polarizing figure, but somebody who did a lot for the franchise. We could have had Keith Brooking too, but he just didn't make the list. So those are the 4 players I want to mention that that did receive serious consideration.
There was a list of 6 or 7 fullbacks and offensive linemen that I pushed for, but Allen vetoed all of those guys. Just because the questions will be impossible to ask for offensive linemen, and people don't remember that one rep that Alex Mack had in that Broncos game against Sylvester Williams. Come on, guys. But I don't know how to end these things.
I want to say something real quick before we go.
Go ahead.
Because you guys aren't going to you shouted out Allen, but no one's going to shout out the both of you on your own podcast. This has been so much fun to do, and it's been great. And I know, Will, I don't know if you were like this, but before I was doing sports for money, I just listened to their podcast to and I always really wanted to go on, and then I wrote a review and I was like, maybe they'll see this and they'll get me in the door. And then them having me on and doing all that in the 16th season was always great, because I was kind of like, man, if I could do what those guys do, that would be awesome. And now, we're all doing this for our jobs. So it's very cool to have everything come full circle. It's great. Will's back with the Falcons, and I like what I do. And, you guys are obviously out there killing it, Aaron and Allen. So it's cool. It's really cool. This has been a lot of fun. And it's just fun because it's just like we all get together and watch this putrid football team. Hopefully not this year. I actually feel like this year's going to be good. But, it's just fun to like get everybody together and remember that this is a very fun media community to be in. So I enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys doing it.
That was beautiful, Cory. Thanks again. And I echo that, guys, not the putrid part, but you guys put together an awesome, this is such an ingenious idea. I'm jealous of it every single time you guys do it. It's brilliant. And you guys do an excellent job with it. I mean, the fact that you guys are able to stump the smartest people about the Atlanta Falcons with some of your trivia questions just shows the level of knowledge that you guys have, and the football smarts to know where to look and which rocks to dig under to find interesting and compelling trivia questions. So again, really well done, brilliant idea, and brilliantly executed.
Yeah, Aaron, don't edit this out. Take your flowers, dadgummit.
Sure. Yes, I will not edit this out.
It's all worth it, man.
So, guys, that's it. Congrats to Cory. Well-deserved champion. I appreciate all the positive feedback that so many of you have given with this series. Normally, I don't try to get too nostalgic on this podcast, but there just seems to be something that happens every 4 years in America that makes me want to go back and relive some of the positive memories of my Falcons fandom, just to avoid the chaos that is going around across the nation. And speaking of chaos, tomorrow's episode will be joined by Jarvis Davis, who Cory defeated in the first round of this Falcons Historian Player Shootout. So there's more to come on your next listen of Locked On Falcons. So continue to make it your first listen. All you got to do is subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And for your second listen, make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today, Locked On Sports Atlanta, Locked On Fantasy Football. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In
Wait,
2018,
did we get 3 right? Isn't the third one he got right? You got the first 2 and then that one?
No,
that was his second.
Yeah, it was 2.
He got
I thought you got Justin Peele and Carolina.
No, he didn't get the Justin.
He didn't
Peele
get Justin Peele.
I thought it was
right. You're right. I'm stupid. I'm sorry.
Aaron just hears Justin Peele. He blacks out.
Yeah, I was just like, of course he got the Justin Peele question, right? Why wouldn't he get the Justin Peele question? Right? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm stupid.
Hey, man, you got more editing to do. That's all I'm going to tell you. You ruined the moment, damn it.
I'm sorry.